The Trial of the Chicago 7. This is a new film by writer and director for this movie, Aaron Sorkin. Aaron Sorkin, the best screenwriter in Hollywood. I mean, if he's not, he's at least top 3. This guy's written some of the most influential movies and television shows of the last 25, 30 years. He's just an absolute force in the director's chair for this one. And this film is about the 7, it's actually more like 8 men who were put on trial following the protests outside of the 1968 Democratic National Convention protesting the Vietnam War, which was going on at the time. It's been a bad year for cinema, and that's not cinema's fault. It's just been a frustrating year. Many movies that so many people, including myself, wanted to go see were delayed indefinitely because of the coronavirus pandemic. So it is nice to find a movie that I can really latch on to and recommend. And as of October 17th, 2020, The Trial of the Chicago 7 is my favorite movie of 2020 so far. I love this movie, and I'm so excited to come on here and talk about it. I'm going to start with what I liked because there's so much about it I really, really loved. Every single performance in this movie is amazing, and it becomes a fun game to watch where it's like you wonder, who is it that's giving the best performance in this movie? I think Sacha Baron Cohen will probably get a majority of the accolades in this. This is a performance that the Academy loves, a comedic actor being given what is really the role of a lifetime for him and really stretching. He's fantastic, but we can't overlook how brilliant Eddie Redmayne and Mark Rylance are. These are 2 Academy Award-winning actors who, in my opinion, give better performances in this movie than they did in the films that won them Academy Awards. They're so great. Everyone brought their A game, and it's complemented by the fact that Aaron Sorkin's screenplay, once again, is just phenomenal. With all of his screenplays, you just get the impression he is so passionate about these stories. He's so passionate about the subject matter and these characters, and that energy manifests itself on screen, and it makes this movie such an entertaining watch. This is a compliment, but it's also a warning. At points in this movie, it is a frustrating watch because it's so goddamn relevant. This is a movie about riots in major cities, divisions between political parties, race is a key factor in this trial as well, and you're watching it and you're like, good Lord, is this 1968 or is it 2020? And look, that didn't bother me, and I think it heightens how I feel about this movie, that it is such a relevant piece of cinema. But if you're someone who just watches films as pieces of escapist art, this may not be the movie for you, because it's not an easy watch at points, and I'm glad it wasn't. It doesn't shy away from showing how not so far we've come in 2020. But it's not preachy about it, though. Like, watching this movie totally reinforced how right I was about Spike Lee's movie To Five Bloods, which is a movie that had zero subtlety and about as much depth as an 8th grader's thesis paper, just using dollar store symbolism and Spike Lee waving his arms up in the air going, oh, I'm so deep, look at how wonderful I am. Here you have a film that is extremely relevant, that is about topics that we continue to discuss even today. Never beats you over the head with its message. It just tells a story, and I so appreciated it for that. Now, I really appreciated how with this screenplay, all these characters, even the ones who you didn't think would have much depth, end up having an arc. Like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, great in this once again. Awesome to see him back in movies. He's a character who you thought might not have much depth to him. You watch him early on and you think he might just be the, oh, I'm going to put you guys in prison for 15 years, kind of rivaling prosecutor. But no, he's not. He actually has depth and he has an arc. Every character here is fleshed out and layered, and I so appreciated that about this movie. You rarely see that in films with 2 or 3 main characters, let alone 5 or 6 or 7. I highly recommend this movie. I'm going to give it a high rating, but it's not perfect. There are a few things about it that were not so great, and I'm going to talk about them here. The editing to this movie is great, and it will get nominated for Best Editing. And it's one of those instances where the pacing of Aaron Sorkin's screenplay so perfectly complements the fast-paced back-and-forth editing that goes on here. But there are a few moments, because it constantly weaves in and out between past events and present events. And for the most part, it does a great job of that. But there are moments in which I felt like they overdid it a little bit with the cutting. There's a few moments where I'm like, you know what? If they would have just let this moment breathe a little bit, it could have been a more poignant moment in the film. But as it is, it's just kind of hellbent on going back and forth between previous events. It's like, if you could have just told your story on its own in this scene and let it breathe a little bit, I think I would have liked this scene a little bit more. The ending to this movie is very good. It's very poignant. It gets its message across, but it is schmaltzy. It is a little bit over the top. And look, it's one of those instances where it earns that. People always point to, oh God, that scene, that ending was so corny. It's like, okay, yes, That does happen a lot in movies, but that's also kind of like the power of cinema, where if you have a story that you care about, if you have characters you care about, you can kind of earn your schmaltz, and this movie does, but I am going to knock it down a little bit for being just a little bit over the top. I mean, it's where, to me, Aaron Sorkin's kind of inexperience as a mainstream director shined through. The ending is a real going for the Oscar moment. The big orchestral music score swells in the background, and they're like really trying to get you to cry. And look, it works more than it doesn't, but I'm not going to act like it's perfect. And in comparison to everything else that's so good in this movie, it did knock it down just a little bit. This is still a phenomenal movie. I highly recommend it. It's going to end up being one of my 5 to 10 favorite movies of this year. I give it a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for the trial of the Chicago 7. Thank you for watching this review. If you enjoy this content, please click that like button, click that subscribe button. Let's get those watch hours up. While you're at it, follow me on Twitter at Castellani2014. The link to my page is in the description for this video. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Peace and happiness.